Hello and welcome back to the channel. We're going to have a quick review of the HEM15 mount, which we purchased back in November. I've had it a couple of months now, and I think it's about time I told you what I thought about it. So welcome back to the channel. This is ours, the Astro. Okay, so this is my second go-to equatorial mount. The first one you've seen from previous videos, I had the EQAL55 i Pro, which I really liked. It was a bit problematic in deck, and they couldn't get the backlash under control enough to do substantial images. So we went out and we bought this little setup. We bought the carbon fiber tripod, we bought the pier extension, and we bought the mount head itself. I initially only bought the tripod and mount, but then looking at how the scope would position itself, depending on whereabouts it was pointed in the sky, it was very obvious that I was going to need the pier extension as well. So we quickly ordered that. All in all fit together very, very well. I've heard some people say that the tripod looks a bit flimsy. It isn't. It can take up to 50 kilograms, I believe, in total. And this has got the pier extension, which is about half kilogram, 2.2 kilograms of the mount head, and then I'm going to say it's nearly 8 kilograms now with everything that's on it. Actual OTA itself, there's quite a lot of weight on top of this mount, and it's probably getting close to the M15's uncounterweighted weight limit. I did weigh it before, and it came to about 7.2, but it's had the focuser attached on, which I will quickly discuss. We've now got a shower cap on the back. We've reorganized everything so all the USB terminates on the top of the mount of the OTA, and then we just got literally have one cable to plug into the laptop. So what do I think of the mount? It's very, very good. It's not perfect, and there are some niggles, and we'll go over those shortly, but it is very, very good. It's very stable. The tripod itself is ridiculously stable for considering how much is on top of it. You still get excellent sub-arc second guiding for the most part, and again, that's one of the niggles which we will get to shortly. Tripod, pier extension, and mount it head itself. What I normally do is take the OTA when the OTA is not normally on it, and I will just lift this whole stack up and take it outside and put it down where I get set up normally, and then I'll bring out the telescope itself out later. You can pick this up with one hand very, very easily. I think the total weight of it that's 2 kilograms. That's I think it's 2.2 kilogram, and that's about half kilogram. So it's like 5 kilogram of weight. You just lift, take, drop. It's very portable, very portable. When it's outside, hand controller, really easy to use. There you go, hand controller, really easy to use. What we normally do is got a little hook here, and there's some little components which are screwed into the top of the tripod, and we can just hang it on there. It will sit like that happily all night. For actually moving around the scope, obviously you've got the normal buttons, and those two will move RA, and those two will move deck, and you can select the guide speed. The only thing we ever really use this for is obviously for the USB connection to the mount itself, so we can control it from a computer. We use it to move the RA axis to get from as it is now, which is the home position, to 90 degrees, and that's purely for polar aligning. And then the other thing we do, there's a function on the mount to when you're in this position, to make sure you are actually in home position. There's an option to search for home position, and this has got little sensors in it, and it will search on those sensors to get bang on home position. You can adjust that if you think it's out slightly, but I've never seen the actual need for it. So we've just took it all outside, and we've put it together. We've got its telescope on. First thing we're going to want to do is polar align. Now, two things here. There is an option with this mount to have an polar scope. As you can see, we haven't got that on this mount. And also, there's a bloody great camera in the way if there was anyway. So what we just do is there's a polar align function in SharpCap and Nina. I've tried it in Nina once. I didn't like it very much. And because I like using the SharpCap one, I've just stuck with that one. But literally, you run through, you've seen the process on the previous video of how we do it. But literally, you just, from the home position, you let SharpCap play solve, hit next, and it'll tell you to rotate 90 degrees. Rotate it at 90 degrees, and it will tell you how far out your polar alignment is. Now, I've seen some people complain that these are a bit finicky. They are in a way. They're not your traditional way of altering the altitude. So on a traditional mount, there would be one screw, and that would push on a bit under here, which would then move the mount head that way or that way in altitude. You don't get that with this. You have got a little dial here, and you have to undo this bolt, and there's a bolt on the other side. Fortunately, in the mount itself, you get an Allen key, and it's got a little magnetic hidey hole for you to be able to store that away. So you would undo that, adjust here, and then tighten that up. When you tighten these up, it does move the point you've just set very, very, very slightly, but it is very slightly. We're talking about 10, 15 arc seconds, maybe, sometimes a little more, depending on how rough you are with it. And I always like to try and get the altitude bit sorted and then locks down, because when you then come to adjust the azimuth, you undo this little flopper pedal here and this flopper pedal here on the other side, and then you would use these two to move the telescope left and right to get you bang on. When you unscrew these, because you're lifting this up, your altitude changes. Not by much, but it's enough to make you think, well, hang on, what's happening? I've just set that. Well, what happens is when you lock it down, it will pull it back down again. So it's normally not a problem. I think I've only had one time where I've been trying to get polar alignment on this for a few minutes, and the reason is because I hadn't pushed the leg out on the tripod. When you set the tripod up, it's best, and this is on not just this tripod, on all tripods, you should always, when you put the tripod down on each leg, just pull it out ever so slightly. It just puts a little bit of force on it and makes it a little bit more stable. So you've seen some of the images we've been taking, and this is where we can start to get to some of the niggles. Overall, guiding is excellent, and you can get and keep under an arc second. 0.6 and 0.7 is possible. I've seen some people think that it's not, but it is. But you've got to configure it, and you've got to configure the guiding a certain way, and there's reasons for that. This mount, HEM15, my particular model, even though they are advertised as backlash free, the deck is not backlash free. Mine has about 1 second of backlash at 0.5 guide rate. So what that means is that if it's following the deck star, it's trying to follow the star and deck, it wobbles too much, it will try and pull it back. But then if it overshoots, it then has to send and it then needs to go the other way. it then needs to send a really long pulse first before this moves, and that long pulse is a second at 0.5 guiding speed. And then the same thing again, if it has to go back the other way, it has to send another long guide pulse of a second before the star moves. It's not really a problem. There's backlash compensation inside PhD2, which can handle that very, very well. Where it does become a problem is you're trying to guide a strain wave mount. And this is one thing that it's hard to get your head around, because you go and you think, oh, a strain wave mount, excellent, I'm going to get these really excellent guiding figures. And then you put it all together, you start pointing at something near 0 degrees deck, which is the hardest place for a mount to guide at, and it starts drifting over an arc second, and you'll get 1.2 arc seconds and 1.3, and then you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, I bought a strain wave mount, why am I getting over 1.5 seconds? And the problem is that you've got to try and balance having a strain wave RA and a hybrid, a worm gear deck. You've got to try and balance guiding both of them. iOptron's answer to it, and I have spoken to their support about this, is to guide at really high aggression. So they're suggesting 90 aggression and above. The aggression is how much it pulls the star back in. So if it sees a star start to drift off during guiding, the aggression is how hard it pulls back. And what they're saying is basically pull it back the absolute hardest. And the reason for that is because you've got a deck, you've got a worm gear deck. And you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, this is RA, I'm trying to guide here, not deck. But the deck has a huge influence on it, and this is why. One of the reading some guides and speaking to some other people on forums, the suggestion for a strain wave mount is to move it slowly but fast. So they suggest 0.25 guide rate with 0.2 or 0.5 second guiding exposures. And most people will tell you that trying to guide at 0.25 seconds is silly, because you will have nothing but seeing. You'll just be trying to chase the seeing. Now, that may have been true during single star guiding, but with multi-star guiding, that's not so much an issue. So guiding at 0.2 isn't so much a problem as what it used to be. The problem is the way that the PhD2 software works. It will take an exposure, do its calculations, then send the guiding pulses. And it waits until the guiding pulses are complete before it starts the next process, capturing the frame, doing the calculations, sending the guiding pulse, waiting for those pulses to complete before it then starts the next one. The problem is that it's guiding this at 0.25, that deck backlash isn't a second anymore. It's now 2.5 seconds. And it's purely because it now takes longer for the deck to move in one direction or the other. And I did look in PhD to see if you could set the RA guiding at one rate and the deck guiding at a different rate, and it wasn't happy about that. It wanted the guiding to be the exact same rate on both axes, which I don't know if they're going to change that, but they'd be interesting if they do. So what happens? Well, you take an 0.2 second exposure. It does the calculations, and then it decides it needs to move the deck back. So it's going to implement its backlash compensation, and it needs a 2.5 second pulse to move the deck back into position again. So it waits and waits and waits for that 2.5 seconds. So in all there, you've probably had 3 seconds where there's been no guiding on the RA axis whatsoever. Bear in mind, you're trying to guide the RA axis at half a second a frame. So you're trying to get 2 pulses in per second. At the minute, you're not getting any pulses in within 3 seconds. So it allows the RA to drift. Because the RA is drifted so much, it then needs more pulses to try and pull it back in. But also it increases the RA guide figures purely for that. Purely because it's the deck backlash compensation has taken so long to complete. Now, I'm pretty sure there's probably some fixes to that deck backlash, but we're currently working his way around it. Changing it back to 0.5 times guide rate and 0.2 arc-second exposures works. That does work because you're only moving the actual backlash compensation then for my particular mount is only around a second. Because it's only around a second, it shortens the time between pulses when it's having to do that backlash. So the RA axis doesn't move as much, so you've got more opportunity to guide it back in again before the RA figures start getting out of hand, and in the like 1.5 arc-second kind of range. Doing that pointed at an object which was 22 degrees declination, which is, as say, the closer to 0 degrees you get, the harder it is to kind of guide. I was getting around 0.7 arc-seconds. So that's good enough for me. I am happy with that. And I think most people would be happy with that. I mean, you have to remember this is a budget, in inverted commas, a budget strain wave mount. It's probably the cheapest strain wave mount you can get. There's just some ways you have to set up the guiding to get it to work to its absolute best. Another issue we have found, and we're kind of using the guiding settings that we're using as well to kind of get around this issue. Well, if you look in the guiding log data, you can see what looks like a sine wave. And then if you do, what this is for my particular model anyway, you could see a sine wave. And then if you look at the PhD guiding logs later, it's definitively there. And if you do a frequency analysis on it, you can see it is quite a large spike at 17.1 seconds. And we had a bit of a banter on the forum, which is to try and figure out exactly what that was. And we kind of worked out it was 8.5 degrees rotation of the wave generator for the strain wave, and that equated to, this is where it gets a bit like, how do we work this out? I don't know. There are, on the pulley that is on the strain wave generator, there is 42 teeth. The time it takes for a tooth of the belt to come onto the pulley and for one to come off the other side is 17.1 seconds. So we believe that spike is literally caused by the teeth of the belt going onto and off of the belt pulley. iOptron have suggested to check the belt tension, check if the belt's touching the chassis in any way. Because I'm getting around it with guiding, I haven't done that yet. They have sent me the instructions. They say I could do it all under warranty. It's not a problem, but I haven't done that yet. So it's something I will look at eventually. But at the minute, I think we're all right. I don't think we need to do anything. And so I found this on my model, and I think a couple of other people in the forums have seen or have got similar. And it might just be that a quick adjustment of the RA belt and it will sort it right out. It could well be. I don't know. And then the final thing I had 2 or 3 times whilst guiding out in the garden, we had a couple of peculiar incidents, which normally just after a meridian flip. So the telescope would do a meridian flip, and then everything just seemed to hang, and we had no idea why. And then the only way to get it back was to manually slew with the handset, or turn the mount on, off and on again. But you have to be very, very careful with doing that. I did have the situation where it locked up, and I tried to recover it inside without coming out to the mount. It was a really stupid idea because it slewed itself into the pier extension. Luckily, we don't seem to have any damage, so I'm grateful for that. But if you ever get a glitch, go out to the telescope and watch what it's doing. I didn't, and it was silly. as it happened, I mentioned this on the forums, and then somebody said that they had something similar, and they'd been speaking with iOptron, and then sent them a beta firmware. Thought, oh, that's interesting. I emailed iOptron, and they sent me that firmware as well. So we installed the beta firmware on it. Since we've had the beta firmware on, touch wood, we have not had an issue since. And that beta firmware is now an official firmware. The latest firmware update on the Optron website for the HEM15 is now the exact same version that I am running on here. So it's no longer a beta version. So overall, I think the mount is very, very, very good. Say it's not perfect. It does have its niggles. Quick rig update. Obviously, we've now got the shower cap on the back. This was just a cheap thing, Amazon find again. This is just to stop any light leaks. It's black on the inside as well as the outside, and it just sits on the bottom there just to stop any light leaks around the base. We now have a Gemini focuser. It installs. There's two screw holes ready for mounting this on already. And you see, the only thing you need to do is take this side of the focuser off with an Allen key on a grub screw, and then everything just bolts in. There's nothing you could strip that off and put it back as it was really, really quickly. I didn't video myself fitting it. To be honest, you don't really need a video on it. It's not difficult. Literally two screws there, and the same flex kind of coupling that you see on other electronic focusers. It's really good. I've not had any issue with it. It worked first time. I worked out what the backlash was on it just by watching what this size does when you move forwards and backwards. I bought the one with the remote and the temperature sensor on it. That's why you can see this bit here for the remote and the temperature sensor. Both work really, really well. I'll do some next time we're doing an imaging session and record some. I'll show you that in use. But the focus curve is perfect. It really is. It works really, really well. Really pleased with that. I think it was £71 I spent from AliExpress. That was including delivery, everything. Really good. If you need a focuser and you don't want to spend £150 to £200 on a Pegasus or a ZWO version or whatnot, get a Gemini one. The box that it came in doesn't have a QR code on it. It has a website address on it, and the website address had the drivers. So they've now got a website available for the drivers for that. So that's another good point. We also bought some more parts to go onto the telescope, which we haven't fitted yet. I don't intend to fit these just yet. This will be for a later project, but while I was ordering from AliExpress, I thought I would go and grab them. So we have got a bag of screws with long thumb screws in for a spider. Oh, I've got a ring down my arm. For a replacement spider for the front. I haven't even checked if it's the right size. It does look like it's the right size. I've seen the Backyard Universe version of these that are about £150. They have thinner spider vanes on Backyard Universe one. I think they're about 1.4 millimeters or something, and these are about 2.1 millimeters. The difference between it is that this whole kit was about £55, whereas the Backyard Universe is £150 just for that. So I thought it was a bit of a bargain. Let's order it. It was the same shop on AliExpress. So we ordered Spider. It comes with all the screws to attach it. We've got this plate is for the back. I don't think I'm going to use that. It's supposed to stop light leaks and things, but it looks a bit reflective, but it has got a nice CYCK logo on it. So, well, I don't know. We'll have a think and a look. It also came with a mirror mask, a primary mirror mask, and I don't know if I'm going to even attempt to fit this because I have noticed that it's just a little bit rough around the edges on this side. I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not, but it is painted matte black on that side. So we might give it a go. I didn't intend to use a primary mirror mask, but we've got that as well. So the whole bundle, everything, the screws, everything, was about £54-ish. Might have been a couple of quid on delivery, but yeah, no, it was really, really good. So we've got all that to fit. Other than that, collimation is pretty straightforward. The secondary mirror hasn't moved. Obviously, it'll move when we do fit that, but the secondary mirror hasn't moved at all in all the times I've had it in and out and moving it around manually. The primary does move a little bit, but it doesn't move a lot. The thing I do need to learn to do is how to collimate it under the stars, rather than having to take the imaging rig out and then collimating it to put the imaging rig back in again. But that's something I need to work on. And so we've moved the USB up to the top now, so we've only got literally the one lead running down to the laptop, and we've got a cable which we plug into that. Yeah, so thanks for watching, everyone. So sorry for the delay in getting the video out there. I've been trying to get to the bottom of the glitches and the guiding and see if we could get the guiding figures and work out a decent way of actually guiding it, which I think we kind of have done now. Hopefully in the next video I will have some imaging done and be able to show you a couple more things. Hopefully might even get some more processing videos done. Thanks everyone for watching. If you like what you see, click the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one.